Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Baseball Talk. Big week here for us, and we have joining us on the Prime Sports Midwest call-in link, the Guru Kevin Moulder from Prep Baseball. How we doing, Kevin?
Doing well, Brian. How about yourself?
It's good. We're the summer. We're seeing it almost in our rearview mirror, right?
Please don't say that. But yes, it's we're certainly in the afternoon hour, aren't we?
We definitely are, man. It's a lot of fun, exciting stuff. Big week. We're gonna get to this. We got a lot of topics here today, folks. First of all, Baseball Talk powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. The All-Star Showcase coming up at the end of this month. Cool stuff. We'll have Dave Pitting back next week. Talk about those things leading up to that. So make sure you go check out game7baseball.com. The summer's moving. Maybe into some fall ball. Get some extra swings as you're playing football or basketball or whatever. You want to jump into a tournament? There it is. Fall ball. There you go. But, man, we've got so much going on. It's a great week of baseball happening. The draft in a week and a half. We're covering right now the Missouri State Championships for American Legion Baseball. The A State Championship going on down at Cape Girardeau. Some good baseball. 3 of the top 5 teams have already won loss. That's amazing to me. That shows some parity in that. That's pretty good, right? I mean, you got a 27-2 team with a loss now. Jackson had 20 some wins, all with 1 loss. Kevin, it's good baseball.
Speaks to the competitive nature and the balance of the league.
Absolutely.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, we'll say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff. That's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
So we're covering that. You can check it out on X. Follow Mo Legion Ball on X, and we're keeping that up to date. We've got the AAA State Championships. We're going to be live streaming, presented by the U.S. Navy. Big stuff there. We're thankful to those guys. We're going to have a lot of fun over in Blue Springs. Got some really high-level baseball coming up there. But not to mention, Kevin, just this little thing called the MLB draft happened this past week. And, wow, talk to us about that. It's impressive what we saw here this last week, huh?
Yeah, I think it's a reflection. First off, I'll start with this. Congratulations to Tytus Cissell, who was selected in the 4th round by the Arizona Diamondbacks, and congratulations to Trey Snyder, who was selected in the 5th round by the New York Mets. I'll get into those 2 players here in a second, but I do think it is a direct reflection of the quality of play in the state of Missouri. In my opinion, has risen. This is a number of years in a row we've had players selected towards the top end of the draft, and that wasn't always the case. So I think Missouri's reputation is growing and has been growing over the past couple of years, where you can come in and get a really nice player out of the state of Missouri. You see that, obviously I'm doing, I have my hands on a lot of these players and watching all these guys and get to see the amount of schools and the quality of schools that are recruiting the players out of the state of Missouri. But it's not just the colleges; it's also the MLB teams. Obviously, Nazan Zanatello, got $3 million last year out of the draft from the Red Sox. So people, and before him, it was Carter Jensen, gotten seven figures, and Carson Milbrandt the year before, also got seven figures. So these guys are not only getting drafted and signing for a good amount of money. So, and not that I'm not talking about the money necessarily, but just it shows you the value that MLB is putting into the players coming out of Missouri. So, and both of these kids are great examples. They took completely different paths, which is kind of interesting. I'll start with Trey, who went to the Mets. Trey's over at Liberty North, won a couple state championships, was a 4-year starter at Liberty North, obviously one of the best teams in the state. Trey was known. He was a known guy. I've known him since 7th grade, known that he's been a great player. He was regarded as the best player in the class, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. He was on the scene, and that's a really hard thing to do, to run the wire all the way through as he did. You see lots of kids at 8th, 9th grade, 10th grade be the man, so to say, and then kind of fade off. It's really impressive and speaks to his work ethic and also his mental toughness and being able to in maturity to be able to handle being the guy, be able to handle those rough games that happen to everyone in baseball where you go 0 for 4 and, the other team saying, oh, overrated and whatnot. Those didn't happen very often because Trey's a high-level performer and is having big games. But I'm sure they happened along the way. So that's one path, and that's Trey's path. Tytus was kind of the other path. He came on late. He wasn't a big, strong kid. He was a 4-year varsity player at Francis Howell, also one of the best teams in the state. Now, he was on the field as a freshman because he really knew the game. He could run, son of a coach. So he was able to do things in that Howell offense as a freshman that they needed him to do. Bunt, hit and run, get on base, play multiple positions. We saw him in center field, at second base, and then shortstop. But as Tytus got older, he got bigger, stronger, faster, and his star really ascended. He was not, a top 10 player in the class as an 8th grader, as a 9th grader. He's more of, the young guys that are listening to me now that aren't big, aren't the early to develop, aren't the super strong kids as freshmen. Tytus Cissell was you 4 years ago. And he just kept working and got better every single year, got stronger every year, was a monster in the weight room over the last couple of years, and just completely blew up over the last 18 months or so, and now is rewarded with it by being the top player selected out of the state of Missouri by the Diamondbacks. So really cool story. Both of them are great kids, and I am looking forward to following their careers, whether they sign and get into pro ball this summer, or whether they head to Mizzou and Tytus's situation, or Tennessee and Trey's situation.
It's a great point you make with Tytus. We got a chance. We did a player spotlight aired this past Saturday before the draft, and I told him, Kevin, I remember walking up. He was a freshman. I'm like, who's the little kid in left field? Right? And that's what it was.
Yeah.
He was not. You didn't look at that and go, oh, I mean, why is that kid in left field? You used to see these big kids with Howell and stuff. He was underwhelming, but when you watched him play, he could play the game. He understood the game, as you said. And I said that to him. He goes, yeah, man. He said, when I was like 115, maybe 120 pounds as a freshman.
Yeah, that's not what he looks like now. He's a pretty big dude now.
Exactly. And he's strong. The young man, you shake his hand,
yeah.
and he shakes your hand. And
Yep.
I'm so glad for him and his family putting in the work. I got some cool stuff, and it makes what I got Trey and Tytus's autographs right there, so I'm gonna keep that around for a little bit. And
Very good.
at the state championships, these guys are not only competitors; they're friends. They've played on the same club for a couple years with that Royal Scout team, and it was cool watching those two in the state championships. They had they compete hard. I got a picture of them after the state championships together. I mean, it's cool to see two young men like that who had different paths, but the personalities, you can see them as people. And it's cool to get to know them as people, because these are two young men that have done it the right way. They have good character, and you know that will help them in their success, Kevin.
Absolutely, yeah. The other kind of cool thing I was just thinking about here, oftentimes you'll see a high draft pick come out of a place, and it's usually a pitcher that is just blessed with a great arm. The last 3 high draft picks out of the state of Missouri have all been shortstops, which I think says something else. So really impressive.
Absolutely. So I want to say, continued success to both these young men. Look forward to maybe seeing them at the big park one day, right?
We're counting on it.
No pressure. Love that. So again, congrats to these two young men. Hey, go check out the spotlight with Tytus. I'm hoping I'm going to reach out to Trey and maybe hope to see if we can get a spotlight with Trey. I know they're going to be busy though at this point. What can you give us? I think this is the other question. I almost went by this, but give us a glimpse, Kevin, from draft here. What happens now? How do these guys filter into the system?
Well, they're going to have a decision to make, and maybe the decision's already been made. I'm not sure, but there's going to be a negotiation process with the families, the player, their agent, and the club that selected them. So, just because you're drafted doesn't mean that you have to sign. That's it's not like football or basketball, like where once you're in the draft, you're going. These kids have the right now to still go to college. So easily, Tytus could still go to Mizzou. Trey could still go to Tennessee. And it is interesting. This is one of the benefits of NIL, in my opinion. Now, one of those schools could say, "Hey, hang on here. I have some money for you here at Mizzou or Tennessee. We want you to come to campus." And now they have an ability to entice that player with not only a scholarship, but a significant sum of money to come play for their school. In a lot of ways, this is a good thing because, especially for Tytus and Trey, now they got a little leverage. So now they're not going to sign professionally for a small sum of money. And we're not, it's a lot of money, but they're going to get an amount of money that's going to get them a great start in life, is what they should be able to do out of this situation. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I'm sure those negotiations are ongoing. And if they choose to sign, what'll happen is they'll get them out pretty quick. They'll send them to the spring training site. Typically is where they'll send the kids that get drafted. And they'll go through basically an orientation. It's a little similar to college. They're going to get them in and introduce them to the Diamondback way or the Met way. Start educating these guys. These guys are positional players, so I'm sure they'll get them out on the field and assign them to possibly a league. And sometimes they keep them on the spring training site for the entire summer. Every organization has a little bit different plan with the player. They'll get that plan to that player. Hey, we need you to do this. Hey, we want you at 15 more pounds. We'll get you in the weight room, et cetera. So it's going to vary for each player a little bit different.
That's cool. That's great information. because I never knew that. I never knew what happened. You hear draft, oh, they're going there, and that's what they show up and play baseball. Not that simple, right?
No, the baseball draft is kind of unique, and the hockey draft is kind of unique as well. The NFL and NBA are kind of cut and dry. Like you get drafted, you're gonna be going over there and playing for that team, basically.
There you go, Kevin. Now back to these kids that are on the journey. We started this last week, and we're gonna finish it up today. Kevin, we've talked about prep baseball, future games last week with the new piece of it, the junior. Now it's the future games, I guess, regular.
Original recipe, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
So I've seen you guys have been putting the team together. I've seen the name of Brett Snyder. That's the first one that pops in my head because I saw that the most recent, and the gray hair sucks my brain level out, so it's hard for me to remember all the other stuff. But I've seen a lot of names and names we're familiar with. So this is shaping up to be a really, I think, formidable team.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment and a fair and good observation. This is the first year with the new NCAA recruiting rules that it's starting to have an effect on the future games. For those that aren't familiar, almost a year and a half ago now, the NCAA put a rule in place where you can't contact players until August 1st of their going to be junior year. So the kids on this team cannot be contacted by colleges until August 1st. Now we have 9 players in our state committed to 4-year schools. They're grandfathered in because they committed when they were in 8th, 9th grade before the rule took place. So, but in past years, a good amount of these kids would have probably been already committed. When I say a good amount, 6 to 9, 10 of these kids might have been committed already. Now they're not. So it has made my job really difficult, honestly, because there's a lot of really good players and there's not enough spots to bring everybody. So this has been an adjustment and a difficult year, but the product on the field is going to be extremely good because we're going to have a good team, as are all the other states. So, starting with the pitching staff, since you started with Brett Snyder, a lot of these pitchers have similar characteristics. We got a lot of tall, lanky, highly projectable arms, and Jake would be right up towards the top of that list. Right-hander out of Francis Howell. What makes Jake a little bit different than some of the others, besides that frame, and right now I would call it an upper 80s fastball. He's been up to 90. He has a real feel for that breaking ball. He can really spin the breaking ball. That's a little bit of a separator. You don't see a lot of kids his age be able to spin the breaking ball the way he can. He's got a true out pitch in the curveball. So he's going to be an arm that he's already on the college radar scene, but he's going to be one of the bigger names that's attracting a lot of attention down at the future games for Team Missouri. Along those same line, his teammate Dylan Curtis, one of the top pitchers at Francis Howell this year, was one of their starting pitchers. Again, tall, lean, highly projectable, kind of the separator for Dylan from a lot of the other pitchers his age. he already has high level command and feel for his 3-pitch mix. So, a lot of times you get a young, talented arm. They got the big arm. They throw hard. They have good stuff. They struggle with command or executing pitches or repeating delivery or consistency in outings. Dylan has a high-level feel for pitching already, is a big-time strike thrower. He's going to be a fun one to follow, and he's going to fill out one day and throw pretty hard. He's already in the upper 80s. He's going to be one that is going to command a lot of attention.
He's got that. I think Curtis. I haven't seen Brett Snyder throw in person. I've seen Curtis. Curtis is smooth. His delivery is smooth to me. It doesn't have a lot of, and so I think that becomes something. When you start adding on weight, you have that smooth delivery. It just seems to be able to carry that next level of velocity. Correct?
Yeah, and that's what makes him atypical. Most kids his age aren't like that. So that's what makes him special. Tyler Putnam is one of the guys I'm extremely excited about. That's 6'6", right-hander out of Battle. Extremely athletic, big-time basketball player. Also plays shortstop and hits. But his calling card's on the mound. He's got a chance to be, we just talked about Snyder and Tytus. Tyler's got a chance to be one of those guys in a couple of years to have his name called, as do the other two as well. But Tyler's got a big-time upside, already got a 91-mile-per-hour fastball, a tight slider. Tyler's going to have a lot of interest coming out of the future games. Already does have, he's already on the radar, but he's going to be one of the top guys that people are watching down there. And it's a broken record. Now I'm going to tell you about Jathan Spain. This kid is an absolute monster. 6'4" right-hander out of Cape Central. Upper 80s fastball. Again, he's going to attract Power 5 interest. Bats cleanup for his high school team. He's coming as a PO to the future games, but can swing the bat as well, and a big physical right-hander that can run the velo up pretty good. Brody Crane, Kansas City kid. He's going to be one of our two-way players. He is another 6'3", 6'4" kid, catcher with a bunch of juice, but also a 91-mile-per-hour fastball. So we're excited to have Brody on the team. Preston McCracken out of the Springfield area, also an upper 80s arm and a 6'2" right-hander. He was extremely good at the Missouri State games at Mizzou earlier this summer. It was kind of his coming out party where we were aware of him, knew him, but he came to the Missouri State games, had a big day. And again, he's a two-way player. At this event, he's going to come as a PO, but another electric arm. Another name that'll be familiar, and again, we have a theme here, CJ Lake, 6'3" right-hander, big, physical, strong arm, has been up to 91. He is going to do both down there. He's going to be playing first base and pitching. Big, physical kid with a bunch of juice at the plate. We'll see which direction he gets pulled. He can swing the bat. I like him on the mound a lot. It's still they're all young enough where you don't know what's going to happen exactly, which direction they're going to go, and I think let them do it all and kind of figure out as they go. But they're young enough right now where it can kind of be hard to predict which path they're going to end up going. But CJ is an exciting talent out of Oakville. Jackson Joggers, 6'6" right-hander out of Eureka, also a big-time basketball talent, extremely athletic kid, good feel for pitching, strike thrower. Right now is kind of in that mid to upper 80s mold, kind of an 84, 88 guy, has a really nice breaking ball. There's a lot of upside, though. When you see him, it's easy to start projecting and thinking about what Jackson will be down the line. Jackson Smith. He was a big part of Festus's success this past year. Obviously, we all know or are well aware about Mason Shermer, the ace. Jackson Smith didn't give up an earned run for Festus until May. 6'4", left-handed pitcher, plus feel for pitching. Very good changeup. Has a nice breaking ball. 6'4" left-handers don't grow on trees. This kid is extremely projectable. Right now, the fastball's in the, I would call it the mid-80s, kind of in that 83, 85 range. But one day he's going to throw harder, and right now he's just an out-getter. So those, a little bit similar to Curtis. He's already an out-getter. He's got the frame with a little more development physically. The miles per hour are going to come. He's going to be a very good pitcher one day. He already is a good pitcher, but collegiately and possibly professionally, time shall tell. But that's going to be one to keep an eye on long term. Ben Lackey out of Eureka, another 6'2" right-hander, very good slider. Lackey can really spin it. Another mid to upper 80s arm. Excited to have Ben down to the future games, and he's really come on over the last 12 months. He's kind of exploded physically. Fastball's taken a good jump. Have seen him up to 88, so he's one we're excited about. Henry Vetter, which is a name that should be familiar. He's over at Washington High School now. Big dude, 6'4", upper 80s arm, very projectable. Has had success in high school at Borgia and now at Washington. We're excited about Henry. He's had a really strong summer. And then kind of a late comer here, Cameron Taylor out of Kansas City. Saw him over at the Super 16s over in Kansas City. Right-hander, two-way guy. He's going to PO for us for the future games, but it's been up to 92. So we got a lot of arm talent, a lot of big arms, velocity and stature, Brian. It's the Missouri pitching staff, I would say, is as strong as it's ever been since I've been at prep baseball, honestly. Just bunch of good-looking, tall, projectable arms that already have present velocity that are easily going to throw harder down the line. So we're really excited about the pitching staff, Brian.
One of the things, Kevin, to me, and you've kind of presented this to a degree. You're listing all these guys and projectability and things, and this is what we set these things. The games are there. These kids are going to go and they're going to show their abilities to the highest level. This is what this is about. But I also love the fact that when you're talking about high schools, some of these kids we've already seen at this level, what you say, they're out-getters. Because the summer we understand, and I think summer's become that to a great degree. It's a showcase of your abilities, what level, how projectable is a player and whatnot. And then when you get into high school, I think I find it more interesting to see how this young man can perform on the mound in a situation where you're actually trying to get wins. And you've got your team on your back. You've got can I put you on my back? Let's go to war. And we're going to get outs. We're going to throw ground balls. We're going to be competitive deep into games. And I think there's the balancing act. Isn't that correct?
100%. And that's the tough part of my position and ultimately my job. I've got to balance that out and get truthfully, the future games, the high school season, they're just trying to win. That's their objective. They're trying to win a state championship, win baseball games. Obviously, there's an educational piece there at the high school level where they're, we're educating the young men through athletics and baseball. At the future games, and in summer ball, it shifts a little bit. They're trying to win. They're also trying to promote their players. At the future games, we are trying to put the most talented roster or interesting roster for college coaches to come evaluate. So this year more than ever was extremely tough because, especially with the pitching staff, 5 of these arms wouldn't be coming if this was last year because they'd already be committed. And it's honestly a problem, a good problem, but a problem nonetheless because we're leaving some really good pitchers behind. It's been a trouble spot for me, and it's not been fun. Looking at the roster, I'm like, man, a year ago, these 3 or 4 kids are coming like slam dunks, and I'm not able to bring them this year. It's just a reality of the situation. There's only so many innings and so many pitchers you can bring. So one more arm I didn't leave off, but is coming from Missouri that is going to represent the play for Team Select is Kason Willenberg out of Kansas City, another 6'4" right-hander that's up to 88. So Missouri's well represented. Feel really good about this crop of arms we're bringing.
Right off, excuse me, right off the get here, I want to, excuse me, sorry, I had a tick in my throat. This one's intriguing. We've talked about this young man, watching play, had him on. He decommitted because he'd committed early to Mizzou, but that's Brendan Pyle. And I saw that he, as you've been announcing, kids, this young man's interesting. And as we start talking about positional players, he decommitted, and has that helped him in this respect, Kevin?
I don't know if it's helped him. I guess ultimately yes, because it's what he wants to do. It's his decision. It's his recruiting process. So he needs to do what he feels comfortable with. He would not be coming to the future games if he was still committed, but he'd have his school that he was going to. So, and Brendan Pyle is the two-way talent. In last year's model, he'd probably be pitching for Team Missouri as well. This year, he's going to be a positional player for us, which we're really excited about BP coming. And yeah, he'll be one of our top performers. He's been on the scene since his freshman year, and he'll be one of the Missouri infielders. So we're excited about him. Another player that we have coming that also recently decommitted, GT Taylor out of CBC. Kind of a utility guy, super athletic, big time juice. And when I say utility guy, he can play second base, maybe a little third, and certainly capable of playing all the outfield positions. But he's an athletic bat. We're excited about GT coming. Sticking with the outfielders, and really they're very similar in some regards. They're all big time athletes. They can all run. And they all have a little bit of juice in the bat. Micah Patterson out of Lee Summit, left-handed hitter, has sneaky pop. Not a very big guy, 5'10" or so, but good runner and has some juice. When I say good runner, he's probably a 6'7", 6'8" runner. One of my favorites, Colton Petersmith out of Rolla. Has been starting since his freshman year out there. I saw him play as a freshman and kind of put his name in the back of my head. And this kid's going to be a good one. Been batting leadoff since day one for Rolla. Big time runner, probably the best runner on Team Missouri. Of course, we'll find out here in a week. We'll put him to the test, but he's a 6'5" runner, 6'5", 6'6" runner.
Now, because
he
hasn't, so evidently he hasn't run the 60 in a while for you guys, because on his profile he's 6'8", so he's improved since then.
He ran that at a young age.
Wow.
So obviously, as you get older, you get stronger. But yeah, he's a plus runner. We've had him sub.
6'8's impressive.
Yeah, and 6'8's very good. I've had him. We've had him sub 4 multiple times down the line to first base. 3/8 on bunts, that type of thing. So I'm projecting what his 60 time will be there. But hits to all fields, super talented dude. Then Devin Freeman, this guy, outfielder from Ladue, has also kind of blown up recently. He came to the Missouri State games and performed extremely well, hit a home run during the event in the gameplay. Devin has kind of exploded over the past 5 or 6 months and taken a good jump forward. So that's our outfield. Feel really good about our outfield. It's one of the more talented outfields we've ever been able to bring to the future games. And again, same sort of thing. With the old rules, I'm certain a number of these kids would have been committed already, but they're not now, so that we're bringing them to the future games. The rest of the infield to go along with Brennan Pyle, Brennan McLaughlin out of Platte County in Kansas City. Two-way talent. We're going to try to sneak him on the mound. I don't know if we'll be able to or not because he's an upper 80s arm and just that classic shortstop type pitcher on the mound. What I mean by that is just kind of an athletic arm action and live arm on the mound. But positionally, he's had a great season at Platte, hitting over 400. He has a little bit of juice, some sneaky pop, and kind of that wiry, strong, lean, athletic, classic shortstop build. Brady Tanner, Francis Howell kid, left-handed bat, just a steady ball player. Ended up hitting second a lot for that really good Howell team. Steady player, difference maker offensively. We're excited about having Brady down. Kind of an interesting guy here that I think has a really high upside. Seaton Thompson also has come onto the scene here recently. This is the kid that guys are going to show up and like just by looking at him. He's 6'3", switch hitting shortstop. He has the physical attributes that everyone's going to like. He's still developing. But really intriguing prospect to keep an eye on from a collegiate standpoint would be Seaton Thompson. I think he's going to open some eyes in Atlanta next week.
Real quick to that, Kevin. Real quick.
Yep.
I've seen a couple of Ladue Horton kids here, so maybe it's not so much a surprise that Ladue made the run in that district play as they did last year.
Yeah, they had some talent, certainly. That's a fair point, and kind of just put it together later in the season. But you're right. They have ability over there. They had some talent. Over at third base, and all those four guys will mix around a little bit. How we do it at the future game, they'll play short, second. One or two of those guys might mix in over at third, but Craig Ringy, the sophomore out of Eureka, he's been on the varsity since his freshman year. Very physical third baseman, really nice glove, has the ability to play shortstop, probably projects more of as a third baseman just because of the physical nature, the physicality he brings, but has some juice in the bat. He's going to be an upper 90s, I'm guessing 100 mile per hour or plus exit velo type guy, or your classic third baseman, looking to drive balls, hit balls out of the park, and really good glove as well. High baseball IQ. Over at first base and also a little bit of third, Jamison Forrest. Physical left-handed bat. This bat has a number of coaches in our region excited. Gotten a good amount of calls about him already. But Jamison is a physical young man with a sweet left-handed stroke, can hit, had a big year at Duchenne, and his best days are certainly ahead of him, in my opinion. And then our two catchers, I've already talked about CJ Lake. And then our catchers, Kendall Hagedorn. I actually coached his older brother when I was at Jeffco. Went down and played at Louisiana Lafayette. But Kendall's a catcher out of Sedalia. Great catch and throw guy, tough as nails, has a big bat as well. Brooks Zumwalt, who's a 6'5" left-handed hitter, catcher, first base guy, pure hitter, exciting upside with Brooks. And it's a big-time bat. So that's where we're at positionally. Feel really good about our roster. The thing about the future games, you think going in, things change a little bit while you're down there. So it's a really good week because we get to do a workout with these guys. We get to watch them in 3 games. We do BP before the games. So you get to really know these guys inside and out. And, some of these guys are going to absolutely blow up while we're there. And then there'll be 1 or 2 that have a tough weekend. But in the long run, we'll end up being okay because they'll learn from it and, and end up recovering and having a good spring next year, et cetera. So looking forward to, going to taking these kids to Atlanta and representing Team Missouri.
And one of the things that I think is cool about this at this point, because this is the August 1st, these kids are going to get seen that way, and it's pretty close to that process. But this year, you guys introduced that next level, the seniors and whatnot. So kids that maybe would still like to get maybe this opportunity that maybe didn't commit and whatnot. I think that's what's cool about what you guys have done. And there may be some kids that just haven't made that decision, haven't found, but want to get that experience and move to that. There is still another opportunity. That doesn't mean they'll get it. I'm not saying that, but there is still that opportunity next year, correct?
Yeah, and we put that in place this year kind of as a reaction to the new recruiting rule because there's so many good seniors out there, going to be seniors still uncommitted, that maybe didn't get the opportunity to play on the future games team. And, I'm looking at it and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, man, we are leaving some really, really good players behind. And it's unfortunate. So that's where we made the 17U future games as well. And I think it'll expand next year. This year we're doing it regionally and we only have 12 teams. I would expect there's a good chance it'll expand next year. And I'm certainly pushing for that and hopeful for it. But it's a great opportunity for players. There'll be over 375 schools there last year. And, the great thing I like to always tell these guys, like, you've earned this opportunity. The scholarships and all that aren't handed out to anybody. But they've earned the opportunity to play in front of these guys. And, all they have to go out and do is just do what they've done, throughout the whole year.
So how do people follow the future games? How can they follow Team Missouri? What's the best way to do that, Kevin?
Yeah, well, we will be, have a heavy social media presence with our Twitter and Instagram accounts, obviously. You can actually stream the future games as well going through our website, prepbaseball.com. But yeah, we're excited. We have a workout on Wednesday at 10:30 in the morning for Team Missouri, where we'll do kind of the pro style workout, put the positional players through a good workout. Then we open up Thursday. We play Team Kansas at 4:30. On Friday, we're playing Team Wisconsin. And then we got our rivalry game on Saturday under the lights at 7 against Team Illinois. So we're excited for this year's event.
That's cool. So if you want to watch, go to prepbaseball.com, check it out. I'm sure there's a cost to the streaming, correct?
Yeah, just like all. I think it's pretty minimal. Yes. Yes.
I just don't want people to go, I can go watch.
I've never done it before, honestly, Brian, because I'm always at the event. So I've never streamed it. So I'm not an expert at pointing out what the costs are or how to do it, honestly.
Well, there you go. So that's all right. We'll put some stuff out and up. It's starting a week from today, folks. Make sure you go get out. If you want to follow along with these guys, I suggest you do. And like Kevin said, you want to follow, it's at Prep Baseball Mo now, correct?
Yes.
Boom, because it's been changed. If you want to follow Kevin, you can follow him at PBR_Moulder on X and Instagram, formerly known as Twitter, of course, the old X. And so there you go. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to follow along. I'm probably going to have to tune into one of those games, Kevin. I don't know if we're going to get a chance to.
Be entertaining.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do the best because we're getting ready to go down and stream the championships. So we got a lot of production work ahead of us and work that we're heading into. But we'll definitely work to try and follow that up. Hey, we'll probably see Kevin back in a couple weeks, and we'll get back into some regular baseball talk. Kevin, as always, man, my friend, I appreciate your time dropping the knowledge.
Thanks, Brian. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button. That gets you subscribed to our channel. If you hit the dinger next to it, it doesn't score runs, but it does score you notifications for upcoming episodes such as this, and great information. Going to be all winter long. We got a great lineup coming up, of course, with we'll reset. We get started with our winter workout tour. We've got our GAC coaches preview, our Missouri showcase. We got all kinds of stuff coming up for this coming season. So we appreciate the support. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, Kevin, what do they got to do?
Keep throwing strikes.
Hitters, hit them where they ain't. We'll see y'all next time.